My mother is a person, people always used to tell me that I needed to have this father, and that was the only way that I could grow up to be a man. But I realized that the strength that I have and I see in my mother, and that she continues to show even at the age of 75, it's unbreakable.
Hi, I'm Gladys Bettis.
Hi, my name is Constance MaSpice Davis.
Hi, I'm Tracie Robinson.
I'm Gwendolyn Mia.
My mom's my first fan.
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 My mom's my first fan. Pro Moms giving game to Detroit football moms, providing resources to build character and class. Detroit is different. Professional Football Players Mother Association. Visit Detroit. Teen Hype. Team 84. Skillman Foundation and Grand Valley State University present this community event for Detroit's NFL
I want
Draft.
to introduce the first mom. Oh, wow. This woman is so amazing. Ballroom dancer, but just a great human being doing wonderful, wonderful things in the community. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Gladys MaBus Bettis, mother of Jerome Bettis. Anybody who is active on anything with entertainment, community, social media, this young man has springboarded his career to a whole nother level, recreating, branding, dancing, doing all those wonderful things. But guess what? He from right here in the D. Give it up for Constance, Mama Spice Davis, mother of Anthony Spice Adams. Next young lady come to the stage, Gwendolyn Mama Mia, mother of Khalid Hill. Come on, give it up. Next amazing mother, this is the mother of Alan Robinson II. Y'all give it up. Show some love for Tracie Robinson.
First, we want to do an ode to the mamas. Our number one fan and our first fan. I know the name of it is our first fan, right?
Yep, and
but
we
the
are.
first and the most consistent continuity over time. We want to do an ode to you. We want to thank you. As a principal of performing arts school, my children were artists, but my grandson is an athlete, so I'm gonna be a nana, right? But I understand how you have to get up early and you stay late. You pack the snacks, they call you at the last minute, say they need juice boxes. You gotta get enough juice boxes for everybody. And then some of the moms participate and other moms just drop off and you can hear the tires burning rubber as they leave their kids in practice. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. And so it's certain moms that you see the kid that didn't get juice box or snacks, then you go in your car, you make sure all the kids have something. And you've done this for years and years and years. And you're not thinking about, at that time, professional. You just like, I just need them to stay out of trouble, keep some, you know. But look at God. Amen. Your consistency, your love, your dedication, it is a reward. And that reward has demonstrated itself with the excellence that your young person, now grown adult man, has done in the world. But they did not do it without your support. It's not just the
You're right.
just being the mom, but being a support person. And so we thank you. Dad's like,
They
well,
look
we
all
the
happy.
ones
We love you,
that
Dad.
was practicing with them. We the ones that threw the ball. We the ones that caught the ball. Then they get on that field on their first professional game, and the camera says, oh my goodness, you made a touchdown. And what do they say? Hi, Mom! Right? That connection is deep and it's real.
Yes.
And so what you're doing, though, is you're also holding together the community, right? You're holding the community together. When I see these flowers and I look at what Kari is doing, yes, Kari is my cousin. When people say cuz, they think we talking about dapping it up cuz. No, we're actually cousins. And it was our grandmother, Mother Dear, who used to work the table. So now my sisters are out there working the table, because it doesn't matter who's doing what. Somebody in the family's got to be there to make sure that they feel that support. Because when you're going through life, you need to feel supported. You have to do the work, but that support makes a difference. So we thank you and we celebrate you, and we just want to have a good time. So we want to hear from you what it's like then and what it's like now.
Talked about the juices and all of that stuff. So I had a grandson. So that's a grandson thing, pulling up with the extra juices and, you know, brushes and combs and all that stuff like that, because it's not one-dimensional with the needs. But I want, and any one of you beautiful ladies can answer the question, was it any point as you pushed and nurtured and motivated that you woke up and you said, you know what, I'm tired, I ain't doing this no more, I'm through, I can't, it's just, it's too much for me? And if you had that moment, what was the one thing that made you say, okay, yes, I can, I got it together? Or the one person or that thing that you said, okay, I done had my moment, I done fell out, I done cried or whatever, but I gotta keep going. What was that like, and did you have it?
I personally didn't have it because
Okay.
I love being a stage mom,
Okay.
a player's mom, helping the kids, cutting up oranges, bringing food, whatever we needed to do to help the coaches, to help the players, to help the parents. So whatever we needed to do to help the coaches, the kids, the parents, we were there to do it. My husband has always been involved, so it was a team Robinson that was helping out the team, whatever team my son was on. So I enjoyed that, so I never felt that way.
I would chime in and say I never felt that way either, but I did make my sons choose because they started off younger, you know, they wanted to play everything. And so one day I thought somebody had robbed me. I was like, somebody got a call to my bank account. I had gone to King James basketball tournament, and you know, I was one of the team moms, and you end up taking care of every student or every child that's with you. And I had spent over $1,000 in one weekend and didn't realize it, because it's like a little bit here, a little bit there. And so I told my sons when they got home, I said, something got to give. So we got to figure out what is it that you, because they played at that time, they were playing baseball, they were playing basketball, and playing football. And so it was like, okay, well, what are we going to focus on? So and then I think that was also a part of teaching them. You know, you have to prioritize as to what it is you really want to do. And, you know, we can do a lot of things, but sometimes when you really are starting to begin to hone in on your skill set and what you want to do and what you want to be good at, you know, what are you going to focus on? And I let them make that choice. So it wasn't like I told them that they had to do one sport or the other, but they then had to look at, okay, well, what am I really good at? What is it that I really want to get better at? And what am I going to work on? And so that's something that, you know, in teaching our student athletes, our kids, that they need to understand those things.
I never had that problem either. I saw the passion that Jerome had for the sport, for his education. So I got the same passion that he had. I just wanted him to do whatever it is he wanted to do, and I wanted him to do it right, do it good, and he did. So it was always good.
You know,
for me.
Jerome's first game was actually at high school. He never played any little league or little guys or whatever. We bowled. We were a bowling family, and I thought Jerome was going to be a professional bowler because he was in travel leagues and everything, but when he got to be 13, 14, he said, Mom, I want to play football. And I'm like, oh, no, because I hated football. And between him and his dad, they beat me down. And I took him to pediatrician to get checked to see if he could play. And I told the doctor, I said, well, Jerome has asthma. And I said, he'll have to take oxygen. So the doctor said, well, if he has to take oxygen, he should not play. So I'm like, okay. And he gave me inhalers for him to use before he started and during the game. So I was always at the game with the inhalers. I gave one to the coaches, and they always had them. And they would always, we would always know if Jerome needed them. And I knew once he got to the pros when he was having a problem breathing. Moms always knew, but I always knew whenever you see Jerome drop down on his knee doing a run, he didn't take the run all the way through, he was having a problem. And, you know, and I used to say, darn, he could have ran that touchdown all the way, but he couldn't because he had to stop and breathe. So he had the asthma, but he learned how to play with it. I didn't want him to, but I thought again, and I'm thinking, oh, well, let him play and see what happens.
And for me, it was different too. I never not wanted him to play. He didn't want to play. He wanted to be a basketball star. And he told me I should have had him at 15 because he would have already been in the NBA. So he wanted me to be 15 when I had him. So he could have already been in the NBA. So, but I told him, I said, well, Anthony, you know what? People your size play football, so you're going to play football. So I encouraged him. So he was like, but Ma, I don't want to play. I said, but you're going to play. So I took him to the Pale League or whatever. He was 8 years old. He got on the scale. The guy said, ma'am, he can't play with these little kids. He's going to have to wait till he gets to high school. So high school came. He was sad when I dropped him off. He was like, but Ma, I don't want to. Anthony, get out the car. Get out the car right now. He got out the car. He said, so I said, go introduce yourself to those coaches over there. I'm MaSpice, Connie Davis. My son is Anthony Spice Adams. He went to Martin Luther King High School, as you see. I have on my King logo. This is We Bleed Black and Gold because we're a crusader. And my son, Spice Adams, when he was in high school at King, he was, the main ingredient. If you guys can see that or not, I don't know, but he was the main ingredient. That's why they called him Spice. Well, he never wanted to play football in the beginning, and I know he tells this story a lot, but it's the truth. He wanted to play basketball. So when he first started playing at King, I dropped him off at the field. And I told him, I said, Anthony, go over there and introduce yourself to the coach. And he turned to say, which coach? And I left because it was a bunch of guys over there. So one of them had to be the coach, and he was able to go over there and tell them who he was. And then when I came back, you know, a little while later, he don't tell this part of the story, but the coach told him to run around the track. And so he says, run one, walk one. So he ran one and he walked one. But by the time he was done and got back in the car, he was like, Ma, I got to be back up here tomorrow. And when I come up here tomorrow, I can't be late. The coach said I had to be here at a certain time. But today, when we was out there playing, we was all doing this together. 1, 2, I said, oh, wow, you like that, huh? You like that football stuff? Yeah, I like football now. After one day, he said he loved football. So I was awesome as far as how I felt about him wanting to play, but I knew that kids his size played football. I brought him up to the Pale League up at King High School when he was 8 years old. They put him on the scale. Scale went 200 pounds. They said, ma'am, he can't play with these little kids. I said, what? He's a little kid himself. What do you mean? He said, you're going to have to wait till he gets to high school. I said, high school it is. And Anthony kept trying to convince me, no, I'm going to be a basketball player. I don't want to play football. Mom, I don't want to play football. I want to play basketball. Too bad. Kids your size play football. And football he did. He got a full ride to Penn State. Was 57th picked overall with the 49ers, played with them for 4 years, and the Chicago Bears for 5. So he turned around, I was gone. I was like, I'm out of here. Do not change your mind. He started getting bigger than me, so I was like, oh no, he need to find somewhere to go other than in this house and try to think he gonna do something with me. Because I'm east side, we'll be in here fighting. So no. But can I say one thing though? Can the moms of the NFL players stand up? They came to support us.
Yes.
And I would be remiss.
Yes. All these moms have sons that from Detroit or around Detroit Metro that play in the NFL. They retired or they play now. All these moms. It's beautiful.
Yes, I'm gonna pass the mic so y'all get your mic mind together. I'm gonna pass the mic because you're gonna say your name and your son and the team they're playing for so we can celebrate you. The question I want you to think about while we're doing, as we get ready for that, I want you to think about what type of coaching did you do as they began to be really good, not just playing to stay out, not just playing because they like it, but like, oh, they can actually do this as a career, to help them manage the predators, to manage the people that would try to offer them things or get them to go to a school that maybe wasn't the best fit for them. So what did you do to coach them through that process?
Good afternoon, I'm Roz Peoples. My son is Donovan Peoples-Jones for the Detroit Lions. Natalasia Sims. My son is Nick Jones for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm Mary Moore. I'm Herman Moore's mother.
I'm Yvonne Lewis, and my son is Cam Lewis with the Buffalo Bills.
Good afternoon. My name is Chantel Ross, and I have two sons, one that played for the Chargers, James Ross, and one who is currently playing for Baltimore Ravens, Joshua Ross.
I'm Akila Thomas. My son is Tavier Thomas. He just signed with the Buccaneers. It's his 7th season.
Hi, my name is LaTanya Franklin. My son is Kayvon Merriweather. He's a rookie. He's going into his 2nd season. And what else was it? Oh, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
My name is Valerie Osborne. My son is Kendrick Osborne. He plays for the New England Patriots. It'll be his 1st year. He played 4 years with the Minnesota Vikings.
Hey everybody, I'm Joelle Hirschman. My son is Larry Borum. Don't hate me, but he's a Chicago Bear.
Carmen Thomas. My son is Ambry Thomas. Graduated from Detroit King and the University of Michigan, and he plays for the San Francisco 49ers.
Anyone wants to take my question on how you did your coaching, or maybe you partnered with your family to help guide your son in a positive direction when there were other people that probably wanted to distract him?
Well, you know what? I didn't know anything about this football or the sports. We didn't play. Jerome's first game was in high school. We bowled. We were a bowling family, and I actually thought he'd be a professional bowler. So that's a whole different feel than football. So when he started playing, we found out he had asthma when he was born, but it went dormant. So all his life he never had any problems. But when he decided he wanted to play football, the asthma came back. So I'm thinking, should I let this boy play? Should I? I was so afraid. I didn't like football in the first place. And then now he wants to play, and he has a breathing problem. But myself, my husband, Jerome and my husband, they beat me down, and so I went on and let him play. I'm glad I did, and I was there for him, literally everything. We were a family who did everything. When Jerome finally got to college, got to pros and things, when he needed to make a decision, everyone knew that Jerome had a family behind him, and that decision would be made with his family, and they had agents trying to approach him by himself to make decisions, and he would let us know, and we'd tell him, no, we can't, you can't even, don't even talk to them. They knew that they should have come to us. They didn't, so don't talk to them, and it worked out. So, and what I tell parents all the time is the biggest thing, as Herman was saying, support your children.
Yes,
It's positive.
absolutely.
Be there for them. Anything you have to do. I had to get up in the morning, as most of these mothers know, and get him to practice 6 o'clock, and then I had to go pick him up 7 o'clock in the evening. So we did that in high school. So it was a family thing, but as usual, the moms have more to do than anyone, because there's no way my husband was going to take Jerome to school and then go to work.
I think for us, it was a collaborative effort with my family as well, very similar to Gladys's time with Jerome. We all just pitched in. When I couldn't do something, my husband would do it. If we couldn't do it, we had a village of people around us who we helped each other. So if my family couldn't get my son to the game, I had one of our other close friends' family to get him to the game.
Hi, my name is Tracie Robinson. I'm Alan Robinson II's mom. Alan Robinson started out his football career with the Detroit Cubs. Then he played with the Southfield Falcons. From Southfield Falcons, he went to high school at Orchard Lake St. Mary's, on to Penn State, and then he went on to play with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the 61st pick in the 2014 draft, and then he went on to the Chicago Bears. From there, he went to the LA Rams and on to Pittsburgh Steelers. I was at one of the Southfield Falcons game watching my son play a game, and one of the coaches was sitting next to me. The coaches and the other people around was wondering who was number 5. Number 5 was my son, and everyone was talking about, we got to watch number 5 because they want to key on number 5 because that's the player that they're going to try and stop. And I'm like, that's my son. It so happened that the coach that was sitting next to me was a friend of mine that went to high school with me, and he was keying on my son. I'm like, don't hurt my baby.
And we did the same for the other family. So we just pitched in and worked together as a unit. And to me, that's how success becomes, that's how the child becomes successful, because he knows that he has that support behind him. We were always there at his game, so we continue to support him to this day in the same way.
Mine was a little different because I'm a single parent. So it was just me and Anthony, and he's my only child. So he's an only child. And so for us, it was totally different because, first of all, again, I chose football for him. But it was a lot of things that he had to go through because, it was just us, and I wanted him to have that man in his life, so that, he had leaders like Bishop Edgar Van was a leader for him, and he used to talk to Anthony and mentor him, and then he went to the Powerhouse Gym where he worked with Big Lou. So Big Lou was a big part of him, being there. So I always tried to put him around other men, other strong men, so that he can get that strength in him. But then there were times like when he was playing at King High School, he wanted to play defense instead of offense. So he would say to me, "Ma, could you talk to the coach and tell him I don't want to play offense no more. I want to play defense." So I said, "Okay." I talked to the coach, and he got on defense. But then when he went to college, he called me one day crying. He's going to be mad at me about this, but that's okay. He was like, "Ma, the coach, they tried to put me on offense. I don't want to play offense." I said, "Anthony, when you signed that letter of intent, it said football. Didn't have a position on there. So if they want you to play football, is offense a part of football?" He said, "Yeah, but that's not what I want to do." He said, they asked me the other day, they had me in the office, and they said, "Anthony, how would you like to play offense?" I told him I would think about it. Then the next day, they had me over in the offense. He said, "So I'm leaving here. I'm not playing that position. You're not leaving, because I don't have that money to pay. You're not leaving. I'll call up there." I started talking to my friends, and I was like, "Anthony wants me to call up there." So my girlfriends was like, "Honey, you can't be calling up to no college telling the coach, talking about, your son, put your son back." I said, "Look, that's my son. I raised him." I said, "I'm calling up there. What harm is it going to do, right?" So I called up there, and let me speak to Joe Paterno. So they said, "Well, can we put you in touch with Jay, his son?" Yes. I said, "Jay, listen, Anthony does not want to play on offense." "Well, if he don't want to play on offense, why did he play so well when Joe put him out there?" "I don't know. I can't tell you that." But he wants to play defense. So they said, "Okay, I'll talk to Joe and see what happens." So they played the Miami game. I went because I'm mama. I went. I looked at Joe. Joe looked at me. "Okay, I'll put him back. I'll put him back." So they put him back. But the thing about it is that being a single parent and raising him by myself, we had a bond. Yeah. So one day I picked him up from practice, and we're in the car, and so he comes in, with his helmet and everything, and so he tried to throw his helmet in the back, and so I look and I said, "Anthony, oh my God, your helmet is cracked." He said, "Yeah, I know, but it's okay." And I was like, "No, it's not okay, Anthony." He said, "But Ma, if you say something, I'm not going to be able to play because we don't have any more black helmets." I said, "Well, that's too bad. I'm saying something to the coach." So the next day I stayed and I told Coach Reynolds, I said, "Hey, Coach Reynolds, Anthony has cracked his helmet." And he says, "Oh, he did?" I said, "Yes." I said, "And I don't want him playing with that cracked helmet." And he was like, "But Mom, come on." I said, "Anthony, the helmet is cracked. If somebody hits you and it splits, that's your head." And he's like, "But Mom, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to let him get that close." I said, "Anthony, no." So the coach said, I got him. He'll be okay. So went to the next game. Anthony was the only one on the team with a white helmet on. All the other players had black helmets on. So I'm at home one Friday getting ready to come to the game, and I get a phone call from his cousin that was at Grambling State University, his cousin Trace. So Trace says to me, "Auntie Connie, who's on Kings team that wears a white helmet. I said, why? What's wrong? He says, no, they say he's a beast. I said, you're kidding. He said, no. I said, guess what? I said, that's Anthony with that white helmet. Because he had the white helmet, he stood out. So that's my story about him wearing that white helmet and his mom saying, no, you can't wear that cracked helmet. And I think that's why he got the Penn State. If things didn't happen, he come to me and say, Mama, he had me driving a big truck one time thinking that, that's Mama, she can do. I know she do everything else she can do. No, I can't. Yeah. Quit calling me for all this stuff. And it bothers me because I didn't have that male role there to really push him like I felt like he should have been pushed. So it all fell on me, but I was there for him to give him the support that he needed.
I have a question. How much did you know about football when you got involved? Like when you said, okay, I want you to play football and I want you to do football. And any of you can answer that. And how quick did you learn the dynamics of football? Like you talked about the offense and the defense and all that. How fast did you have to learn and how much did you know going in?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. Didn't know all I knew, I had a big son. And all the football players I seen were big. And they looked like Anthony. So I wanted him, I knew nothing about football.
Yeah.
Both of my brothers played football, college level, and then I thought I could play football until I got hit myself. So I stopped and realized that wasn't for me.
Wait, you're not going to just say that and just slide by? No,
yeah, I was a typical tomboy, having older brothers, and so you do whatever they're trying to do, or what they're doing, I should say. But they both played, but of course, you get out there, so I've known football probably all my life, and so football was a part of our family. Like I said, both my sons, I have twin sons. Khalid is the one who actually went to the NFL, but we always was around all sports. My mom played basketball, my dad was a boxer, so we were a sports family, but also very strong in academics. I'd be remiss not to say that the other support to the other question, Coach Atlas is here. So not only did we have my parents, who I'm a single parent as well, but I had my parents, I had their coaches. I got them involved early on because I knew how important it was for them to have that support because I can't raise a man. And I knew that, and I didn't try to take that on, and so I tried to put them around people who I know who could support that. I understood the sport and I understood what it came, everything that came with it. So that also goes and taps into being able to listen to your children. So being supportive, sometimes we may see things, but you gotta support them as well and then just try to guide them along the way and try to help them to make the right decisions and then have them talk to the right people to make those good decisions as well. Because sometimes you get them talking to the wrong people and then, that's when our young people really get disappointed.
When you think about choosing a high school, this is how Detroiters think. I know, because I've been here over 60 years. So we're going to take the exam. I'm just going to tell the truth, right? We're going to take the exam, try to get an exam school. We'll get exam school, and if you got some talent, you're going to go on audition to be a DSA, right? So we know that as we pick, we're trying to think about a high school. We want to say if they're athletic, we want them to go to King or Cass or even Renaissance, right? Central, right? If they can dance, sing, compose, you're going to send them over to me, a DSA. But there's this process of what college, right? That if your son is really good at this, and the coaches are saying if he stays healthy and he has a great chance and he's getting good grades, then he could go to a college, and that college will set them up for recruitment into the pros. Is there a formula, or is there something that you have to consider and think about what kind of college, or is it just random?
As I said, I'm Akila Thomas, and my son is Xavier. My son was a walk-on at Ferris State University. He went to Central State, and a walk-on is when you beg for a tryout. He went to Central State in Ohio, and he was there for camp for a week, because that's where he got into, because his ACT wasn't as high as it needed to be. He cried like, "Mama, is this not for me? It's not right. These people doing stuff." He wasn't used to that, so I went and got him. I packed all the stuff up, and the next Monday, I went and got him Saturday, went and got him took him to Ferris on Monday. He had missed a little scholarship academically they gave him, so he literally went and he just begged for a tryout. That's just what it was. And like the third game, he had a tryout. The third game of the season, someone tore their ACL, and my son got in, and that was it. He was All-American junior year and senior year, and he made it. So it's possible.
So I guess similar story, again, Natalasia Sims. I used to coach your daughter at Bates, by the way. But my son went to Detroit Public Schools. He went to Bates Academy, and most of those students go to an examination high school. And he didn't want to go where the masses were going, so he chose Southfield because his PAL coaches coached in Southfield. They did not win. They had just merged the schools. It wasn't the best opportunity football-wise, but it was where he wanted to be in terms of his comfort level with his coaches. He left there, went to a MAC school, which is a smaller conference in D1. So he went to Ball State. I had never heard of a Ball State, didn't know anything about it, but he ended up there in Indiana. And again, wasn't a powerhouse type school, but he worked hard. You know, he was hurt his junior year, didn't play the season, and I'm like, are you sure we're gonna do this? And he's like, this is what we're gonna do. And so he pretty much got looked at based on his senior year of play. They were knocked out of the conference. They didn't have a winning season, but he was invited to a bowl game. He ended up playing, you know, in the East-West Shrine Bowl, and then subsequently was drafted by Kansas City. And so this was his rookie year, so he ended up winning a Super Bowl his first year, so that was awesome. You know, he didn't go to the Power Fives. He didn't have that, you know, he didn't go, I mean, I'm cast technician, CT, but he didn't choose that, and I honored his choice. You know, I didn't push him to go one way or the other, where all of his friends who were D1 athletes went the cast tech route, and then they went to U of M, and then they went, or other schools. He took the road less traveled, but was still able to do what he was able to do, you know, and make the 53 and play. Like, he played in the, you know, in the Super Bowl, which was awesome for him. So again, it can happen. There's more than one way to make it happen. So he is a testimony that it can happen.
My son wasn't drafted either, but he didn't go to a DPS school. He went to Voyager, which is an academy. And he actually ended up at, it was Consortium at the time. And he went over there because of his baseball coach, because Cameron played baseball. He played football, basketball, and he ran track with D. Atlas, with Coach Atlas. And so that's how he ended up at an academy, you know, because I had to find a school that he could fit in. And it wasn't like the normal thing. And how he ended up in college, I mean, he was an excellent football player, but he and his coach, Coach Pittman, they made videotapes of all his highlights of the games, and he shopped himself around. And he had a coach call him from University at Buffalo, and they sent a recruiting coach out to him, and he stayed on his head, made sure he went to class, which he was doing anyway, and got the grades, and ended up with a full ride to University of Buffalo. So at University of Buffalo, he excelled, and he'll tell you he didn't think he could make the NFL until his junior year. Everybody kept telling him, you know, you're good, because he's a coachable kid and always has been. You know, because I've told him, you know, I told coaches too, if I give my child to you, don't look at me. You better teach him. You know, don't ask me to step in and do nothing. You have to teach him. But he's always been teachable. So once he went to University of Buffalo and he figured out he could do it, the rest was history. And so he's been at Buffalo for 5 years now.
My son is Kendrick Osborne, and we're from Ypsilanti, Michigan. Yeah, we're from Ipsy, so you know we weren't DPS, so our situation is a little different. So, but my son went to Lincoln High School. I don't know if you guys know Lincoln High School, but he went to Lincoln High School. Yeah, oh, duh. Yeah, so he went there. He played football there, and then he ended up going to IMG Academy in Florida. So how he did that was he applied to the school. Like, I get emotional about this, I'm sorry. So he applied to the school himself without me. And they called and asked for him to go to the school. That school is $70,000 a year. Oh. And I was like, it is absolutely a no. And that school, and he went to Lincoln for 2.5 years. And then, so long story short, they ended up giving him a 98% scholarship.
Wow.
98% scholarship to the school. So he went there. It's a sports academy. I was totally against it because it's in Florida. It's too far. I'm a single mother. I can't afford that. I've been going to every game. Like, how am I going to do this? So through Spirit Airlines, this is a side story, but through Spirit Airlines, you know, you fly Spirit, any airlines, you get there and they asked you to, if you give up your seat. So I was going there so much because I went there every single week. Wow. Every single week. Because I was not gonna let them raise my child. That's right. So, and it was all Caucasians, and I was very uncomfortable with what was going on or what I thought was going on at that school, what I thought was going on. So I was like, I'm gonna be here, what I thought was going on. So I wanted to be there to make sure that he did what he was supposed to do. For instance, they did a cleaning service, and I said, we're not doing it. Although it was included in his contract at the school, I said, no, you will wash your own clothes, you will clean your own room, you will do your own dishes, and he was furious at me, furious. But we did that. Eventually, though, he ended up getting a scholarship, a full scholarship at University at Buffalo. Ended up going to University of Buffalo, and I didn't think that he was gonna get drafted. He always thought he was gonna get drafted. Since KJ was maybe 7 years old, he said he was going into the NFL. Every single year for Halloween, he wore the Lions Halloween football costume. I mean, at some points it was too big. We had to find another one. But he wore this, so I was never on board. When KJ was at the University of Buffalo, there was one game that he played, and I was like, oh, I saw something that I've never saw before. And I called him the next day, and I said, if you want to play, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to support you. I'm going to pray for you. I've never prayed for my son to be in the NFL. I just wanted him to do well. I wanted him to get good grades, and I wanted him to go to college. That's all I wanted. So for him to get drafted, it was amazing. I'm gonna take one more second if you don't mind. He got drafted during the COVID. Oh wow. So during COVID, you know, you couldn't do anything, you couldn't have a party, you can't do anything. He's all devastated and all that. But we were told that he was gonna go the 7th round or not at all, which is fine, And he was taught that as long as you get your foot on the field, you know, you can make it happen. So you can make it happen. I promise you, I remember that day like his birth. He was in the room watching football stuff or whatever. It's on the second day, and I was ordering pizza in the back. The lady, they called, not the lady, my daughter comes in there and she says to me, Mom, he got the call. I'm like, girl, I'm ordering this pizza. I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, no, I got the call. And I'm calling out my debit card number, and I just dropped the phone. And I'm like, wait, what? So I come running in here, and this was in the 5th round of the NFL draft, which I was in no way prepared for this, because I thought that he was just going to be in the 7th round or not drafted at all. And I was preparing myself and my kid for not being drafted. And the whole day, and these mothers know all of this, this whole day, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna tell him when he doesn't get drafted. I wasn't with it. So I was like, how am I gonna do this? That morning, I was in the shower crying. I said, when this boy don't get drafted, what am I gonna tell him? How am I gonna live with him? How am I gonna help him? Because he wanted to do this since he was 6 years old. Yeah. When this boy got drafted, I lost my mind. I ran in that room, and it was just the 4 of us. It was just the 4 of us. And he said to me, I said, who? He on the phone. I'm like, who, what? He said, Minnesota. I was like, Minnesota? Like, I don't know nothing about this football stuff. I was like, Minnesota. But, you know, I just want to say that he was a 2-star recruit. I meant to say that, 2-star.
Tell us what that means.
Bottom of the barrel. The goal was just to get on the field, you know, and like some of these mothers said, once you get on the field, you know, and you show your tenacity and what you can do, there's so many different avenues. And so for all of us, we were just saying, you know, the different avenues. So drafting is not the number one way to get there. There's so many different ways. I have a best friend whose son played for the Eagles way back in the day. He went to 2 community colleges and then went to a D1 and then was drafted. And they used to call him Tuna. He's one of the #1 running backs that ever played for the Eagles. So, I mean, he started there.
One of the greatest sons that you could have.
Yeah.
He stopped me working at 42 years old, and
right.
I am 76 years old now.
Hopefully we'll have some other opportunities. We definitely want to acknowledge you and thank you for taking time to come and tell your story, because everyone may have an idea of how they think this works, that you have to go to the best of the best of the best. And some of our kids do have that opportunity, yeah? And some of them take another path. But the goal is that they are loving what they do what they love, and then they have an opportunity to shine. And when that light shines on them, they remember how they got there. And so that's why we're here today.
It is wonderful, but I gotta ask this question, moms. When your sons, and I know people want to ask, when your sons started dating, when your sons started dating, because even for moms who sons don't play in the league, you know, we kind of look at the young lady kind of like, yeah. So what was that like when your son, working towards the success and maybe playing in high school or college, what did that whole, hey ma, I like this young lady, how did that work for you?
Jerome was in high school. He was dating a young lady. He went to college and they were still dating. She got an apartment. He probably paid for the apartment because they were serious, in a serious relationship. So everything that he needed her to have, he would come through me. Mom, I want you to get a ticket for her to come to see me or come to the game or whatever it is he needed. It was Mom who held, it was Mom. Well, she wanted her clothes. He would send me to Saks to get her clothes. Oh yeah. He would send her there, so she dressed well. Everything was good. She wanted a first-class ticket to go to wherever it is he was sending her, and I said no. And she went to him, and he said, well, whatever my mother says. And it was, I told her, no, you can, hell, I don't ride on first class when I go. You know, I don't care what you're giving up or what you're doing, but you're gonna ride right back here with us. You're not going up there, you know. So, but to make a long story short, she was too impatient with Jerome's career and what was going on. And when he got into the NFL, she was still there. But I guess she wanted more, and she wanted it too fast. And I went to her and I actually told her to just hang in there, just hold on. It's gonna be all right. You're gonna get everything, but let him get settled with his career and you're gonna be there. And she didn't want to wait. She walked away. She walked away from it. Yeah. And
that's a blessing. That was a blessing.
Yeah. She walked away, and I mean, you know, I'm sure she'd look back at it like, damn.
I'm sorry. But,
Yeah.
I would say I was fortunate. My son said, if I don't introduce you, then you don't have to talk to any of them. Because, you know, the young men, our sons are always approached. There's someone who has their own agenda or they want it now. And so I was at least fortunate enough that my son and who he associated with, he learned, you know, I introduced that person. And when I introduce that person to you, then you'll know. But until then, and it made it a lot easier because you would have people, you know, buying you stuff. I'm at the line and, you know, you at a game, you know, even at college, you know, and I'm getting, oh, I got your food. Ma, what you want? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. Right. But if you want to, go ahead, right ahead.
Yeah,
but it has nothing to do with my son. I'm not going to give any good words or anything like that. But I think that's the maturity that he had as well. So I think that comes from having good people around him and having other players, older players, kind of giving them the heads up about, you know, how they should really carry themselves. Because when they step on a campus, a college campus, even high school, I mean, I work in DPSCD, so I'm a counselor, and so a retired counselor, hey. I see it, you know, and I know of, you know, I've heard of stories, and so I know a lot of it. And so it's a fortunate thing for me that, you know, he said, until I introduce you to that person, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Well, I know for me and Anthony, growing up in a black household, you know, you hear stories from your brother and sisters and everything like that, you know. So, but then I went to college too, so now Anthony's about to go. So before he left to go, me and him sat down and we had a heart-to-heart. I said, Anthony, look, you about to go to a school where there's other cultures. And other cultures do other things. I said, so you be careful. There were some schools that had girls sending him postcards about coming to their school. No, you're not going there. You had these girls sending him postcards. You know, talking about this is going to be a great school. I can tutor you. No, you can't do anything for him. Because Anthony was already at MSAT, Math, Science, and Applied Technology, at Martin Luther King Jr. Senior High School. He passed clearinghouse in the 11th grade. So he was destined for Division I school. When he got to Penn State, he made the Dean's List twice. I'm bragging y'all a little bit. But he made the Dean's List twice. He was inducted into the National Society of Collegiate Scholars. He speaks Japanese fluently and he writes it. So you don't need no tutors, okay, to help you with nothing, okay? And so the conversation that we had about different things, I can't say everything, but if you know, you know. I said, so just be careful. Don't ever disrespect anybody. Just politely say no. You know, if you dirty, go take a shower and get yourself together. But do not do that. So we dropped him off, me and his uncle and auntie, we dropped him off, prayed, and we left and everything. And I got home that night. I was, you know, sad because my baby gone. Now I can't eat like I want to. I was eating more. I said, Anthony, when you leave, I'm going to be able to lose some weight. You eat too much. Didn't lose a pound. But anyway, that night, Anthony called me and he said, Mom, remember the conversation we had? And I said, yeah. He said, there was a girl that came over here. What happened? Nothing. I did what you told me. I told her no. I was nice. I was polite. So it's hard for them when they get out there and they see these girls, see them on the football team, you know, and like, oh, he's a football player. Mm-hmm. So you have to talk to them. And you can't be shy about it. Whatever it is that they need to know, you need to tell them right away before they leave to do anything. But then when I found out that the NFL, I'm in an organization, let me say this, I'm sorry. I'm in an organization called the Professional Football Players Mothers Association. We are a national 501c3 organization, and we are a charitable organization. Our mission is to support, serve, and to strengthen through charitable giving. And so this is where I met Mama Bettis, My two assistants, I'm the regional coordinator for the Midwest Division, yeah. And these ladies here who are not in our organization, it is our job to try to get them in. That's why we asked them to come here so that they can see what we're doing. But I have two beautiful assistants here with Tracie and Gladys to help us, our division, to make Detroit look good. Tired of all the rumors about what we're not. So we're here to make Detroit look good and to have these beautiful women come along with us to do some amazing things in the city of Detroit in our region.
And we would love for Herman's mom to join us as well.
Yes.
So that's an open invite.
But what I found is that the NFL actually helps the young men. Let's say if like a rookie came in and there's a young lady that they're dating, they can actually go to them and they will investigate them. Yeah, they say, well, you know, she was with him last year. And then the year before that, she was with him over there. So I don't know if you really want to be with this one. So, but they don't tell us everything, you know. So, but being in this organization, I found out a lot of stuff. Like when Anthony came to the league, he hadn't finished his undergraduate degree. So I was like, oh, they say, oh, the NFL pays for that. What? What they pay for? They said they pay for him to go back to school. They do? So, I mean, how much do they pay? They said, well, as long as he get 80% or higher, then they'll take that bill. Anthony, you know what? You and I have talked. You need to go back to school. Seriously, you do. You need to go back to school. You know the NFL pays for it. How did you find out? Don't worry about it. You need to go back to school. So he went back to school, got his undergraduate degree. I was happy. Anthony, you know you need to get your master's. You know, they pay for it. He went back, got his master's. It was important for me to find out things so that I know how to handle him in his next phase of life. And that's one of the things that I found out about the women. And then, of course, his mama told him some things.
Yeah, my son, Alan Robinson II is my son. And Alan's been in the league for 11 years. This is his 11th season, and he's looking for his next opportunity. So he's between blessings, as we say. With my son, basically, we gave him the talk. And he knows how particular mom is. So he knows that don't bring anyone to mom unless she's the right person. So he and my husband would talk all the time, but don't talk to me about it because unless she's the right person, don't bring her to my house. So, and that's the way it is that we give him an open opportunity, but he knows that I don't want girls in and out of my household. You introducing me to different women that's gonna be here one day and gone the next day. That's not the structure that we have at home. So therefore he knew that he had to bring the right person home.
That's necessary because we don't ever hear that part from the mother's perspective. So thank you, ladies.
My name is Jaja Hubbard. I'm a graduate of Mackenzie Staggs. And I'm also a football mom. My son graduated from Cass Tech. But I want to ask the moms, how did you transition and pivot to make things about you? Because as a mother, and a single mom, and I don't want to get emotional, because y'all had me over here crying.
It's okay.
Because I know what it's like trying to find your baby a ride, paying for uniforms, trips, all that stuff. But when did you start focusing on you and really tapping into you and what it is that you wanted to do once your children or child transitioned to the next phase?
That's why we have the Professional Football Players Mothers Association. We're here to support each other. This is an opportunity for us to gain knowledge from each other. This is an opportunity for us to enjoy life with each other, because a lot of times it's all about our kids, all about our sons, but now it's about us and us giving back to the community. So that's what we love to do. We love to sisterhood, have a good time, and give back to the community.
And so it's a sisterhood of other people that understand your journey, right? Whether you did it with a partner, a community, a village, whether you did it alone with family members supporting, but it's a sisterhood that you understand. Just like with the coaches coaching around, dating, we do hope they find great wives that can that are equal, that have their own careers and ideas and aspirations, that can partner with them to even do greater things and to have families, because strong families will be the survival of our community. And we have, as an African people in America, in this experience, in this experiment on us, we have thrived in spite of how our families have been impacted negatively. So we want our sons to marry and have children, have strong families, right? But now you get to be in community with one another because you're talking to someone who understands your sacrifice, understands your hopes and your dreams, and understands even sometimes the disappointments. I'll say therapeutically, being a parent of an adult child. I know the moment I've been married for over 30 years now, and we have adult children, and that was the hardest thing to parent adult children, because many of them still want the parent part, you know, but they don't want the parent part. Right?
They want the money part.
I'm grown, I do. But you know, when the bottom fall, the rug come underneath, they want you there to catch them, right? Cash App, right? One time I Cash App so much, Cash App called me. They said, ma'am, you keep Cash Apping people. Is this true? Is this you? They made me take a picture of myself and show my license. I said, I got 3 kids. 3 adults who keep asking me for money, right? So anyway, you are the standard. And so we thank you for this community, because we all need community. So we're going to hear from our Detroit Public Schools Community District School Board President.
We are giving you your flowers while you can smell them, moms, because we don't know some of those long, dark nights that you all had. I'm also appreciative of the fact that so many of you have had your babies in DPS CD. So thank you for allowing us the opportunity to help educate your babies, your most prized possession. Thank you. My question is, for those of you who you now have learned a lesson, and there are others listening to you now, whether our babies go in this professional space or not, whether it's the boardroom, the field, the court, wherever, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned that you wish someone would have told you?
The biggest thing that I learned is once they get into the NFL, it is a business. There is no room for feelings. You cannot have feelings. You cannot get attached to coaches. Coaches come and go. They move from team to team. You have to just understand it is a business. If they trade you, if you get cut, if you're bumped to the practice squad, it's a business. Everybody wants that paycheck. Those coaches are there for their money. I didn't realize until we were moving and transitioning over and finding an agent of our own that coaches have agents. Coaches in college have agents. So watch out. It's about the money, and don't fool yourself. So when you are speaking to your child, understand it's a business, and there's nothing wrong with talking dollars and cents, because at the end of the day, when they evaluate you, it's about dollars and cents and what you can do.
While you were taking that question, I was going to also say my son actually got injured his first year. He was practicing with the ones and everything, and you have to, my lesson was to listen and be there for them, because they're going through a lot, and then the pandemic happened. And so here he is, finally getting better, ready to get back out there, and all tryouts got shut down like 2 weeks before he was supposed to have his. And so it's the mental health. My son is very big on mental health now. He's a college coach. I just got off the road. I went and supported him. So as an NFL mom is always an NFL mom for my mom over here. Or a mom, a football mom, any sport mom is always going to be that mom. So I took me and my mom and his twin brother. We were down in Illinois and came back last night so I could be here for this event. But, you have to begin to look for resources yourself and how you can help your child, and how you can help, your son and or daughter, because I got parents out here. I see other parents, and so you may have a daughter who's also playing sports. So you have to become resourceful. And sometimes you have to look for some things because they could, kind of be stuck. And so you still want to support them. So you look for those resources and you try to find out information so that you're always making sure that they have some support and some help. The NFL players, moms, and this is for the parents out here, when you think that they're on the video games just playing, they're supporting each other. That whole out there playing on the video game, and you got all these guys from the different teams, and they're talking smack, but there's times where they shut down and the game stops, and they're actually talking about different things that they're going through. And so that's a great space, and I was able to see that, you know, and that's what helped Khalid, you know, go through that adjustment of, you know what, the NFL, there's another way to get to being successful, and so he's doing the coaching route now. But yeah, you know, you got to just be there and be supportive.
Hi, my name is Victoria Griffin, and first of all, I'm just so excited because this is in Detroit, and I just want to give a round of applause for this being in Detroit, okay? And go Lions, because we got the Super Bowl next year. I'm claiming it. But I got two-part question. The first one is faith. How did faith play into this? I know you all were talking about the girlfriends and, you know, trying to raise them right and pick the right lady to be the wife. But, you know, how did faith play into your sons? Because there's always the chance your son could get injured. I mean, no matter what they play in high school, college, they could get injured. So my first question is, what did you do for your sons as far as raising them in faith? The second one is academics. What did you do as far as making sure that your sons didn't just play the sports, that they had the academics too, and they had the grades to stay in the sports and get good grades and to be a role model?
One of the things that I did with Anthony was I was determined that he was going to be a good student. I just was. It was just in me to want him to excel in life and to be good in school. So I used to tell him all the time, you know, and this is just me, this is my personal experience, that I told him I didn't raise average children. So you will not be average. So you cannot bring C's in this house. I don't play that, and I'm not going to play that. And he didn't play it either, because he knew I was serious about that. And being that, again, him getting bigger than me, I had to keep, you know, trying other things. Like one time, you know, after football stopped, you know, he got real sad, you know, and so I said, Anthony, you got C's on here. But I know, Mom, I'm sorry, but, you know, football. So I just started crying. I was like, Anthony, I try to do everything I can. It's just me and you. I go to work every day. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. You can't do what you're supposed to do. You don't have a job. You don't have to do anything. I got to get out here and try to get us together. You know, I got to pay these bills and stuff like that. So you're not doing your part. I'm doing my part. You're bringing C's in here? So I just started crying like, faking. But anyway, so all of a sudden I hear all this noise in my kitchen, right? So I go in the kitchen and look, my refrigerator had moved out the way and everything. I was like, Anthony, what's wrong? I'm sorry, I'll never do this again. I got you. I'm never bringing bad grades in here again. It worked. Academics, but then when Joe Paterno came to get Anthony to go to Penn State, and when Joe Paterno came, I was like, okay, he don't have to come in my house to see what's going on in here. I'm good in here. He needs to see what Anthony does outside the house. So I took him to our church. We're a member of Second Ebenezer Baptist Church. Well, it's Second Ebenezer now. Bishop Edgar Van. I took him to meet Bishop Van. Took him to Powerhouse Gym. And I took him to Martin Luther King High School to meet the coach, so that he can see what type of student he was getting, what type of athlete he was getting. He faith-based, you know, so he believed in God. He tithed. He did a lot of things off the little money that I gave him, but that's okay. He got it. So, but anyway, you know, you have to raise, the Bible says, train the child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he shall not depart far from thee, which I thought he was going to stay with me the rest of his life. But he got married, and he has 4 kids.
While I'm sitting here thinking about the word balance, it keeps resonating. That was something that I always kept in front of me to make sure that my kids were well balanced in faith, family, football, and academics. So when it comes down to the faith part, what you just stated, Connie, is what was in my head. Train up a child in the way that they should go and they won't depart. I think about how the tables have turned, and when my kids are telling me the things that I have raised them to believe as far as like faith, believe, you can do it, Mom. You can do all things through Christ with strength. All those things that we instilled in them when they were little. I didn't necessarily see taking them to church was like pulling teeth. We gotta go to church, we have football practice. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna be at football practice at 8 o'clock at night on Saturday and not go to church in the morning. Okay. And you're not going to practice and be at the Cubs field until 8, 9 o'clock without doing your homework. So there's a balance that made it perfect. There's no perfect formula for raising a child, of course, right? But my role as mom was, I was the enforcer, I was the educator, like, oh no, you're not going to practice tomorrow if you don't do your homework. Whereas their dad was like, well, you need academics to motivate them. So, and I'm like, no, you're gonna have to do your homework first. So that was my role, and it's just so wonderful to be able to see the tables turn and you hear all those things that you instilled in your children, and it's coming from them, and they're motivating me, and they're helping me to remember, the word of God and how I can carry on and do great things. So I just wanted to say that, and I also want to speak to the other question about what school did they go to. They didn't go to DPS-CD like me. However, I'm Cass Tech graduate, all right? However, I also was sitting here like, man, I'm the best mother ever. I'm responsible for the school they went to. I never forget, I was at a Cubs field game. I was at a Cubs game, and there was a gentleman that came up to me to ask me about where my kids were going to school, my oldest at the time. And I was like, well, we're not sure. And he was like, you really should check out Orchard Lake St. Mary's. So I was like, okay. So we set up our visit, and just so happened it worked out because, again, they had the faith part. And then for me, I wanted to make sure my kids were surrounded by things outside of the neighborhood, because I don't know, I'm from the hood, and it's all good because it's in me, and it's all good. But I wanted to make sure that my kids were surrounded by other like-minded individuals. Not saying that wouldn't happen in a DPS-CD school, because it will. I see it every day. However, that was best for me. And then my youngest son came along, and he was like, oh, I'm going to Cass. I said, no, you're not. No, you're not, because I knew that, your kids, that one right there, you're not going to Cass. Cass is going to be too much for you.
I just wanted to say this to all the mothers and everyone. If I had to tell you one thing that has helped me as I look back, that I would give advice to, and that is, we have advisors, we have agents, we have marketers, we have people who are talking to us about our name, image, and likeness. They're helping us determine what our brand value, our brand position, the negotiations of the contracts. The one single thing that was in there that I couldn't understand why they pushed back against, because it's the most threatening piece, is education of understanding the why. And meaning in that, what is your value? If you're signing a contract with an agent, understand the language that is within that contract. I have every contract. If you want them, I will help you. Go through them. Marketing, branding, understanding, the legal ramifications of signing personally versus doing something under a different corporation or in a different way, so you don't have long-term and perpetual liabilities. There are things that they don't learn, and we talked about the ladies. That's one thing, but what's in black and white sometimes will do the most damage and last the longest. And when I learned that, there was a power that came upon me to where there's a confidence when I walk into the room. You're not talking at me, you're talking with me. Yes. And I understand everything that's being said to me. Yes. All right, so that's one thing I would say. And also for you, because you're advising, understand more beyond just, it looks good, that's a great company. I don't give them whatever they want in face value, because sometimes those are the worst ones.
This is such a great event. I really appreciate this. To my PIFMA moms, the organization. PIFMA moms, the organization. I think this is a really great event, everything that you guys are doing. And for the community, this is such a heartfelt job that we do. Like, sometimes it seems thankless, but we do it because we love our kids, right? And when you're watching your son out there, it's your heartbeat. So it's like your heart in your in your body, it's an out-of-body experience because that's your heart out there. So what they go through, you go through. And they don't talk about the mental health side of things. When they go, somebody asked the question about, thank you. Somebody asked the question about if they get hurt. It's not if, it's when. And when they get hurt, they go dark. So as moms, we're psychiatrists, we're just everything to these boys. And then one of the other questions that the lady asked about one of the lessons I learned. And I think one of the lessons I learned is every year you compete for your job. Every year somebody younger, faster, stronger is coming along. So every year they compete for their job again. So you don't get comfortable. So for a mom, you're steady constantly keeping them strong mentally, physically, letting them know what they need to do because they know what they need to do. This is what they love. So in my experience, that's what I've learned. I just wanted to share that.